Silver Creek Waterfall. Today we're going to talk about what makes a good waterfall photograph. On any given summer day, you'll find a handful of teenagers down here cooling off from a hot day. Today, it's a spring day and we've been getting a lot of rains lately, so as you can see, there's a lot of water coming over the waterfall. It doesn't make for very good swimming, but it makes for excellent photographs. One of the things that I look for when I go out to photograph waterfalls is a cloudy day. The reason for that is that the range of light, from highlight to shadow, is really intense in waterfall areas because it's a gorge, it's a narrow area, so there's a lot more light at the top than there is at the bottom. The second thing I look for is actually I look for smaller waterfalls. They tend to turn out better than the really deep, narrow ones because there's such a wide discrepancy. I like an overcast day because the light is even in illumination. It softens the shadows and it softens the highlights. You've got a perfect day for it. What I also look for when I photograph waterfalls is areas where I can include the waterfall without including the sky on a cloudy day. Because if I included the sky, it would just be plain white, very boring. So I've gone in tight on my composition. I'm just including the waterfall. The way I set my camera up is on manual exposure. I set my ISO to the lowest possible setting, 100 ISO or lower if you can go. I set my aperture as small opening as what I can get, f22. We want to get down to several seconds if we can, at least a second. That gives us that nice silky white smooth look. So I set my exposure at f22. I have to have a rock solid tripod for this to work. My camera needs to be steady. It can't be jiggling or moving. I use a cable release. I set my camera at f22. I've got my ISO as low as it can go. I've done an exposure reading and my initial exposure reading said 6 seconds at f22. I backed off of that just a little bit because if you look, that skirting water turns white in the photograph. We can easily overexpose that area if we expose too long. So I backed down to 4 seconds at f22. Let's take a look. Smooth white waterfall. I'm just going to check my histograms here. A little bit of blinkies in there. I've got a nice big mound of pixels down here on the low end, so I've got a fair number of dark rocks, a good spread across the middle, and a little bit of a peak over here at the white for those white areas. But I'm shooting in camera raw, so I know I can process that black back in. The blinkies aren't too bad. I think I've got a great shot here. Here we are in the studio. I've got the image displayed on my monitor. I'm using Photoshop CS5 with the camera raw converter. And I wanted to show you the highlight areas that I was talking about earlier and the overexposure. If we click on the exposure warning, we see the highlights that are blown out in red there. There's no detail in there. You can also notice it a little bit up here in the sky. Remember I told you I wanted to eliminate all the sky? I've eliminated almost all of it except for just a hint of it up here in the corner. My highlight areas are blown out, but they're not too bad. And when we shoot in camera raw, we can process that information back down into the usable area in the image simply by going down here to the recovery slider, which is the second one down in the right-hand side in the basic area. If I take the recovery slider and slide it to the right, adding a little bit of recovery, I don't have to do much. If I slide it up to 14, I've eliminated the red. I've eliminated all the overexposure here in the waterfall. I still have a small portion up here in the right-hand corner where the sky was, but when we make a print, that'll be such a small area, it won't have any visual impact at all. Well, that concludes our little demonstration today on how to make better waterfall photographs. If you want to learn more, go to www.coldsnap.com.